I was always hesitant to start a podcast because, well, I've got a busy life, and the last thing I want to do was add one more chore on my to-do list. I thought about paying others to do it for me, but just didn't feel like it was worth it. My mind changed when I heard about Spotify for podcasters and how simple and easy it was to record, edit, schedule, and distribute my podcast everywhere I wanted it to be. Seriously, the process takes you less than 5 minutes, and that's including putting together polls and questions to engage with your listeners, plus adding ads and subscriptions. That way you can make a little money on the side or turn it into your main source of income. And best of all, they do all this for free. So instead of putting money in other people's pockets, choose the platform that does the work for you and helps put money in yours. Get started at www.spotify.com/podcasters or download the Spotify for Podcasters app today. Hey gang, Akil here. Welcome back to the Trading Coach Podcast. In today's episode, we're going to talk about one of my favorite topics, which is learning how to trade. And I know it seems weird, right? Why would you have to learn how to trade? Well, learning is a process, and there's a lot of information out there on the internet. We're at the time right now where there's more information than ever before at your fingertips. You can literally learn about anything by going on the internet, typing it in, watching some videos, reading some books, downloading some, whatever you want to download, and learn. So the question is, if there's so much information and if it's that easy to learn how to do anything in life, then how come more people aren't successful at doing it? And the truth is, you have to learn the right way, because if you don't go about things the right way, you're going to make mistakes. You're not going to take the information in. It's going to go through one ear and out the other. And you're going to waste a lot of time doing all these pointless tasks and not retain anything from it and be exactly where you started. So before you start thinking about how you're going to learn, but after you start thinking about what you want to learn, focus on how to learn what you want to learn. Let's hop into the podcast. So this is where that I guess the personalization of your trading comes in handy, right? I got a question this morning from a trader who said, Akil, and let me know how you would answer this, guys. Akil, should I be a trend continuation or a counter trend trader? How would you guys answer that? What's my response? Is there an answer? Yeah, it's up to you. My response was, well, one, you want to pick whichever one meshes with your trading philosophy. And this is why when we go into training, right? If you ever get a chance, listen to, there's a podcast I did, I don't remember the name, but it was from one of our Q&A sessions, and it was called Learning How to Learn. And it's a podcast that for anyone that's new to trading, I recommend that they listen to that podcast. Learning How to Learn. And it talks about kind of how I would advise that you guys go through learning. Because I believe that before you should do unpurposeful learning, right? Again, it's the drawing a picture type of principles, right? When you draw a picture or when you color something, at least I start with this, right? I always, but artists definitely do this, right? They always start with dull strokes of like the perimeter and exterior, right? Or I don't know if any of you guys are artists, but if you ever watch an artist draw, they don't just go right into it, right? They start with the really small brush strokes, the little X's to give themselves perspective. So they make ovals and circles, right? The really kind of light stuff, just to kind of get an outline of what they want to do. And then later on, they go back to it. They'll draw it in with the actual markings. They'll erase the outlines and start adding the details. And then the very specific details go very last. So they start with a very macro picture, a big picture. And then they kind of zoom in, right? They start with a big old map of the country. If we're talking about the United States here, a big old map of the country. And then they zoom into the state, which is within the country. Then they zoom into the city, which is within the state. And then they zoom into the specific whatever they're looking for, right? And when you learn how to trade, it should be the same thing. I don't think you should learn how to trade going into, like, again, this is if you're new to trading, not someone experienced looking for a specific thing. I don't think you should go into a course saying, hey, I'm going into this course to learn how to be a trend continuation trader. I think you should go into the course with the mindset that says, hey, I'm going into this course to learn how to trade. And the first thing I'm doing is I'm just taking in everything. I'm taking in what a central bank is. I'm taking in what a pip is. What's a candlestick? What's a trend? Oh, this is how we can trade using the trend. This is how we can trade against the trend. This is how we can trade using indicators. This is how we can trade not using indicators. This is how we backtest. Oh, this is journaling. Ah, that's a money management tactic, right? Just taking everything in, right? A little trip around the buffet, kind of perusing and kind of thinking about, okay, we got the beef over there, the chicken over there, the pasta bar, that looks good, might come back to that. Ooh, veggie salad, I like that. Dessert bar, I know I'll see you later, dessert bar, right? We're going around just taking everything in. We're not putting anything on the tray. We're just kind of getting the idea of like what this place has to offer before we dig in, right? The same thing is like going to a restaurant, right? Do you go into a restaurant and just order something right away? No, you take a look at the menu and you try to make a decision. And then when the waiter or waitress comes, you panic because you haven't made a decision and they're looking at you and things get awkward and you just order chicken fingers. You're a grown man ordering chicken fingers at an expensive restaurant because you panicked and you don't know what to order. That's what I heard from people, right? But after you do that round trip, you start to kind of get an idea for what you like. So you start to get an idea where it's like, I think I'm leaning towards chicken today. Or, man, that pasta bar looked good. I think I'm leaning towards that. Like, that's what my stomach is telling me. And then, right, once you kind of have an idea, then you dig in to that particular meal. So once you go through everything, you learn about trading, you learn about trend continuation, you learn about counter trend, and you start thinking like, man, like that counter trend thing, I don't know, man. Like you're telling me like price has to be moving in a direction, and I gotta try to trade it in the opposite direction. Trend is your friend until it bends, right? I think I'm gonna the trend continuation sounds better. Like I like the idea that price extends, it gets exhausted, it pulls back, it gets exhausted again, and then brand new buyers come in. I'm feeling that today. And then once you have an idea of like, hey, that fits what you want, then you dig into the details of how to do it. But a lot of it is understanding what is my philosophy about the market. Again, the same thing for like, hey, do I love indicators? We'll get some traders that are like, man, look, I need to have 2 moving averages on my chart because when they cross, it tells me this trend. When they uncross, it tells me that trend. Like indicators are my jam. I need to use them. Some people are like, man, I don't really care about indicators, man, or trend lines or whatever we're using. But the point is, you don't know what the answer is until you've experienced it a little bit, until you've tried it out a little bit. And then what you'll notice is that you'll start it's kind of like love, right? You'll start feeling certain feelings towards one thing. Like you know when you know, one of those type things, and then you dig into it. And that can change years in the future, right? You can start off one way and then be like, I thought I liked this, but now that I've experienced something else, and now that my knowledge has increased, I actually like something else. And you can switch. But there's no way to answer that question at first. You just have to do what fits best and then dig into it. And then if it changes, it changes. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Brendan said, that's why I scout the menu prior to leaving home. You'd think I'd be more prepared, Brendan, right? As a trader. You'd think I'd be. I'll tell you what, I started doing that now because my wife is very picky about what she eats. And my kids are, I got 2 youngins, they're even pickier. So the last thing I want is I don't want to go to a restaurant. I've done this before. I don't want to go to a nice restaurant and have the kids order something and then they don't eat it. Like, I'm still cheap. I'm still frugal. So now whenever we're asked to go out, I do like you. I take a little look at it. I'm like, is there anything that the wife would eat? Probably not. Or I take a look at the portion sizes because, again, I'm not a fan of paying more for less. I'm not a fan of these fancy places where I pay a lot of money and they give me a little bit of food. I'm from America, right? I'm from America. I want to eat half my plate and I want to throw away the other half. Typical American, right? Big portions. Never should I be eating that much food, but I want to have it just to know I can. Just to know I can. America. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Hey, if you want to go back to the original podcast on this topic that was taken from one of our Q&A sessions, it is Trading Coach Podcast episode 90. It's called Learning How to Learn. I highly recommend that you do it. I also highly recommend that you take the 10 episode challenge if you're new. That means listen to 10 random episodes before placing any type of judgment on the podcast. If you like it, stay with us for 3 brand new episodes each and every week. And if you love it, make sure you leave me a rating and a review. That's the best way to support what we're doing here. All right? Until next time, plan your trade, trade your plan, and I hope you guys enjoy episode 90.